The recently released Hema Committee Report has invoked tremors across the different movie industries in India. Even though we are primarily a movie review and essay channel, with our love for Malayali cinema, and with the amount of Malayalam movies we talk about, due to the sheer quality it offers, it is rather impossible for us not to talk about it. We would like to talk about some questions related to the findings of the Hema Committee Report that might be in your minds as well. The more we discuss, the more we engage, the more we can enable the empowerment of women in our cinema and for everyone who resides below in the ladder of power hierarchy in the entertainment industries. If there's any of you still not aware about the Hema Committee Report, let us start with a short summary. The report on the issue faced by women in the Malayalam film industry was made public on August 19, 2024, 5 years after it was submitted to the Kerala government. It is being hailed as the Harvey Weinstein exposure moment of India, as the report revealed horrid tales of sexual exploitation, illegal bans, discrimination, drug and alcohol abuse, wage disparity, and in some cases, inhuman working conditions. The 235-page report, published after redacting the names of the witnesses as well as the accused, notes that the Malayalam film industry is under the clutches of certain male producers, directors, and actors, a power lobby. Despite constitutional protection and several legislations, gender discrimination and injustices continue to occur. This is mainly because those who enforce the laws or interpret them do not always fully share the philosophy of gender justice. And that brings us to the first question that is circulating around. Is this sexual and gender violence only prevalent in the Malayalam cinema industry? There has been a lot of reactions to this report, and one of the most vicious ones is the malicious campaign to denigrate the Malayalam film industry as a problematic industry which shelters toxic people and work culture. While it is true that the Hema Committee reports on the abuse and the control of power in the Malayalam cinema, it would be naive to believe that this happens only in this one industry. As Parvati, one of the pioneers of Women's Collective, which has long raised a battle against power, control, and abuse in the Malayalam industry, puts it out that this report must be seen as a strength of the industry rather than weakness. It is a moment of celebration that years of effort and fight have finally come to fruition in making the report public, which must be a predecessor for the other industries in the country. The artists from the Malayalam cinema raised their voices to initiate this committee after the infamous 2017 case of sexual assault on a Malayali actress. But what about the places where there is a pin drop silence even now? There were quite a few Me Too stories that came out of Bollywood in the past, but none as organized and constructive like the Hema Committee initiative. It sends chills down our spine to think about those people exploited on a daily basis in various industries, but cannot talk about it. We hope that wherever they work, they raise their voices. Samantha Ruth Prabhu has recently suggested that a similar committee needs to be in place for the Telugu industry, and similar asks are coming out of Kannada film industry as well. Positive news is that cases of abuse are suddenly coming out public in the Bengali industry as well, and one of the popular directors from the industry has been suspended from the Directors Guild recently. Bengali film and theatre actor Damini Beni Boshu, along with many other artists from Bengal's theatre industry, has formed a formal association called Shurokha Istehar for the safety and security of women in theatre, and acknowledges the inspiration that came from the Women's Collective. So unless there's an agenda, putting this story as an exposure of the Malayalam industry would be silly. Rather, it is Malayalam cinema that has become a predecessor once again in showing the light to others from the Indian cine world. But then, one might think, why there are no new FIRs after the Hema Committee report was published? Why the names of the perpetrators have been redacted? Because the objective of this committee was not directly related to the justice to the women who came out with their stories, but to create a formal documentation of the extent of control and abuse in the industry so that long-term justice can be provided by eradication of such malpractice. It was to do a formal evaluation first and come out with an acknowledgement that such stories that we keep on hearing only to shrug under the carpet as one-off cases are true and are now recorded on the system. It has led to a caution in the air for the powerful people in the industry. It was not about name and shame, but to improve the workplace practices in our cinema. Similar reports like the Liu Grade report addressing sexual harassment in the UK entertainment industry, the Australian Film, Television and Radio report addressing bullying, harassment and discrimination in the Australian entertainment industry have come out in the past with similar objectives. And thereby we realize all the more that this abuse, this exploitation is not only about Malayalam cinema or India. Women have been abused time and again in the past in our history. Of course, justice is of prime importance and anyone can go ahead and raise an FIR against his or her perpetrators anytime, as an individual choice. But that was not what this committee or its intended deliverable was about. Now that it is out, the onus is on the government to give the safe spaces to the victims to come out with the names and raise FIRs. Do we have that yet? We will have to wait and find, while keeping in mind that the 2017 case is yet to be judicially settled. But then, is it only about women who are exploited in the entertainment industry? No, it is not. There have been instances in the past from outside India, and we need to talk about the sexual abuse of men as well. Hollywood actors such as Corey Feldman and Corey Haim were both abused as child actors. Brendan Fraser, our childhood hero, critically acclaimed for his performance in Whale, talked about being groped by powerful executives when he was young. Several actors have accused James Franco and Kevin Spacey for abuse towards men. Back home, Samdesh Bhatia, known for Unscripted with Samdesh YouTube channel, had accused his boss at Scoop Whoop of sexual assault. One can only congratulate Samdesh for being able to talk about it in the open, as most Indian men deter from doing that. The idea of masculinity in India is of the protector, who himself needs no protection. One who cannot cry, and one who will lose on his masculine appeal if such stories come out. Something we need to talk about for men who suffer but cannot talk about it due to social taboo associated with it. How can our society create space for men to talk about their sexual abuse without being ridiculed and bullied? Once we provide that unbiased safe space, we are certain there are stories to come out. The fourth question in our mind is more philosophical, something that we are torn about, and that keeps coming back from time to time. How can we differentiate between the art and the artist? Gandhi had said long ago, hate the crime and not the criminal. However, it is easier said than done, as not everyone can be a Mahatma. A lot of big names should ideally be exposed due to the revelations of the report. They may be artists whom we have adored for years, who have given us so much joy across decades. They might be our favorite people and personal idols. What happens when such idols fall? Where does it leave us, a once worshipping fan? The ideal way is to separate their work from them. But can we do that in India, where our movie stars and cricketers are treated as gods? Are we mature enough as a society to do that? Or are we going to defend the fallen just because we cannot handle the truth? And there is this other side too. Do their skills, stories in cinema lose merit because they as a person in real life have been far away from what they have shown in their cinemas? Do we still consider Marlon Brando as one of the best actors ever? Or do we ignore or discard his artistry for being a mute witness to the disturbing treatment of Maria Snyder on the sets of Last Tango in Paris? We had spoken to a much celebrated Bollywood director who simply adores Woody Allen, but cannot come out to a podcast to talk about his love for Allen's films, not to be tagged for supporting an alleged child molester. Human civilization across its history has instances of the art being distant from the artist, be in literature, sport, painting, or cinema. We can only try to differentiate the two to the best possible extent. We can only try. Finally, the biggest question of all. Where do we go from here? The women of the Malayalam film industry have shown spine and have led the way for the rest of India. They have fought endlessly against this system and have initiated a dialogue, but the battle still goes on. Conversations have started in some industries, but we need others to join. Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, or the Bhojpuri industry need to contemplate and come out to join the fight. And then the state government needs to listen to the wake-up calls and set up similar committees, and most importantly, put some practical fast-track solutions in place and not only shy away with intangible suggestions. Remember, when we talk about these issues, the image that comes to our mind is of an actress being exploited by producers and other powerful people. But the reality is much worse. There are women doing makeup, background dance, cooking for the crew, assisting in direction or production. And when we hear that basic toilet facilities are missing in certain sets for these women, we really do not know what to say. Well, why can't we start from there? When can we expect industries to give basic workplace rights and facilities and then voice to everyone involved? We need to also talk about pay parity, which is a truth in cinema industry like many other places. Will setting up internal committees in all sets be enough to set up the right workplace culture? Will we as the audience learn from these discussions and enable similar safety for all in our workplaces? Or is it only about our own amusement and voyeuristic pleasure? We are waiting for the answers and we hope we have them soon. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching.